something called as metallic solid. Now, just to correlate metallic solid at with this non-metallic solid, which is like a individual non-metallic solid, means the solid which is made up of non-metal. For example, carbon. It could have been, let's say, silicon structure or anything. Okay. So what is the difference between the arrangement of particle here and the difference in the arrangement of particle? Because this is also what we have discussed here just now on the name of covalent solid, is like a solid of one type of element, correct? जैसे carbon, or let's say you can even say, let's say, silicon or phosphorus, anything which is just made up of only one type of non-metal element. But here also you have metals which are also made up of only one type of element. Okay, then how do the two solid differ in terms of their property? Well, from our own experience we know that the two are really very different, correct? आपको सबको पता है कि एक मेटल की प्रॉपर्टी क्या होती है, और एक अगर आपने कार्बन ग्रेफाइट ले लिया है तो उसकी प्रॉपर्टी क्या है, या आपने कोई भी कोवेलेंट सॉलिड है जिसमें एक ही तरह के पार्टिकल हैं तो उसकी प्रॉपर्टी क्या है ना, दोनों की प्रॉपर्टी बहुत अलग होती है. सबसे पहली प्रॉपर्टी तो आपको बहुत पता है आसानी से कि उनकी स्ट्रेंथ में डिफरेंस होता है ना, जो बड़ी ऑब्वियसली उनका जो सरफेस है, ये मेटल का सरफेस जनरली शाइनी और लस्ट्रस होता है, जबकि नॉन मेटल्स का सरफेस ऐसा नहीं होता है ना. तो और दूसरी प्रॉपर्टी है कि भाई कोवेलेंट स्ट्रक्चर थोड़े से ज़्यादा हार्ड होते हैं. मेटल जो है इतने हार्ड होते हैं बट दे आर स्टिल मैलिएबल एंड डक्टाइल. यू नो व्हाट इज मैलिएबिलिटी एंड डक्टिलिटी? वर्किंग ऑन दिट बाय हैमरिंग, है ना. आप हैमर करके भी उसको अलग अलग शेप में बदल सकते हो, है ना. तो ये जो प्रॉपर्टी होती है ये मेटल के अंदर है, और ऐसे हैमरिंग करने के बावजूद भी वो ब्रेक नहीं होता. ठीक है, अगर आपने किसी और चीज़ को हैमर किया होता, जैसे आयोनिक सॉलिड को या कोवेलेंट सॉलिड को, इतना सफिशिएंट फोर्स से हैमर किया होता तो वो ब्रेक हो जाते हैं, लेकिन मेटल जनरली ब्रेक नहीं होते हैं. और यही बात है, आपको मैं फिर से अब यहाँ पे याद दिला दूँ. देखो, मैं आपको शुरुआत में ये चीज़ दिखा रहा था, मेटल्स को हम पॉलीक्रिस्टलाइन कहते हैं. तो इसमें क्या होता है, यही बात है कि मेटल जो है क्रिस्टल रहते हैं. आप जब हैमर या कोई भी वर्क करते हो उसके ऊपर, तो ये जो है ऐसा समझ लो कि अगर ओरिजिनली सपोज मेटल आपको ऐसी मिली होती किसी समय पे जब बनाई गई है या उसको एक्वायर किया गया, लेकिन ऑन द वे वी डू लॉट ऑफ हैमरिंग वर्क, लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ force we apply on metal. So what happens? The metal crystals don't break. The crystal arrangement doesn't break, but the particles or tiny particle, they get a little bit detached from each other. So they form like grains. You see that the term that I used as grain. That's why we call it as polycrystalline. Okay, आप हैमर करते हो तो ये अलग अलग नहीं होते हैं. अब क्रिस्टल के अंदर जो क्रिस्टलाइन सॉलिड होते हैं, जैसे सोडियम क्लोराइड, उसको आपने हैमर किया तो ब्रेक हो जाएगा, हमने रीजन भी देखा. लेकिन मेटल्स के अंदर अगर आप हैमर करते हो तो ये एक दूसरे के ऊपर स्लाइड करते रहते हैं. हो सकता है एक बड़ा पार्टिकल, एक ग्रेन जो है फिर से टूट जाए और उसमें से दो अलग अलग क्रिस्टल अरेंजमेंट फिर से जनरेट हो जाए 3 डायमेंशन में. तो इस तरह से हैमरिंग की पॉसिबिलिटी, इसका एक रीज़न है. ऐसा क्यों है कि वो यहाँ पे क्रिस्टलाइन सॉलिड में नहीं होता, बल्कि पॉलीक्रिस्टलाइन सॉलिड में ये पॉसिबिलिटी है कि आप इसको मेलिएबल प्रॉपर्टी आती है. और दूसरी प्रॉपर्टी होती है उसी से रिलेटेड डक्टिलिटी. That means you can stretch the wires of that. That is also something similar to that. The reason is this. See, the basic answer to this particular question about the difference of behavior of ionic solid and metallic solid is simply because the nature of bonding that exists between the particles of metal, which is definitely given a separate name altogether, and it's called metallic bonding. Do you remember your 11th class? We did not discuss metallic bonding in terms of there are various theories which help us to understand a metallic bonding. There is an explanation based on molecular orbital theory, and there is a simple explanation also, and which is called electron C model. Do you recall that? Anybody can recall that? There is a term. See, this is apart from ionic solid and covalent solid. So this is something called as metallic bonding. What did we discuss in your 11th class? Anybody? Okay. What are metals in general? If you look at, metals are like, I'm just explaining in the simplest term, not in terms of any theory, but imagine that each individual metal is like, it is highly electropositive. All of you agree with this? What does it mean by being electropositive? an element is electropositive, what does that mean?
So it means it
that
has
it can give
tendency to
electrons.
lose
हाँ,
electrons.
इट कैन लूज इलेक्ट्रॉन इजीली, राइट. जो इलेक्ट्रोनेगेटिव होते हैं तो उसकी कैपेसिटी क्या होती है, इलेक्ट्रॉन को वो ज़्यादा लेने की कोशिश में लगे रहते हैं, तो ये डिफरेंस है. तो मेटल्स आर इलेक्ट्रोपॉजिटिव, एंड इफ यू वांट टू वेरी क्रूडली understand why they are electropositive, you know that they also want to acquire the octet electronic configuration in the outermost shell. So they have one electron or two electron or maybe three electron in their outermost shell, and if they are removed, then whatever number of electrons are left out, then they will lead to octet electronic configuration. For example, sodium के केस में, तो सोडियम का जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कॉन्फ़िगरेशन है उसमें टोटल नंबर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन जो है 11 है. सो दैट विल लीड टू 2, 8, 1, and if you remove one electron, then it is very happy to do that, because it will end up acquiring octet electronic configuration in the outermost shell, and 2 and 8. So that will resemble to neon electronic configuration. That is where it will be most stable. So we can say that metals in general, the atomic particle of metals in general are highly electropositive. And so what happens, this electron which can be easily loosed out, for example, they are the outermost electron, they are very loose, and what happens when the atoms of metal they are close together in the solid state, है ना, सॉलिड स्टेट के अंदर जब वो एक दूसरे के पास में हैं, जो कंडेंस हुए हैं लिक्विड फेज में से और फिर इस तरह से बने हैं, तो ये जो इलेक्ट्रॉन हैं वो एक कॉमन रीजन में एक दूसरे के मतलब सब मिल जाते हैं, ऐसे समझ लो एक कॉमन बैंड बन जाता है ना. जैसे आपको याद होगा मॉलिक्यूलर ऑर्बिटल थ्योरी हमने जब डिस्कस किया था, मॉलिक्यूलर ऑर्बिटल थ्योरी आपको याद होगा. जैसे मान लो अगर हमको हाइड्रोजन का फॉर्मेशन मॉलिक्यूलर ऑर्बिटल थ्योरी से डिस्कस करना है, तो हमने क्या किया था कि हाइड्रोजन इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे तो 1s1 इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कॉन्फ़िगरेशन रखता है, ठीक है, ये हमको मालूम है. ईच इंडिविजुअल हाइड्रोजन इज लाइक 1s1 electronic configuration, so there are two hydrogen atom, 1s1. But according to molecular orbital theory, these outermost shell, in fact all the atomic orbital, they undergo what? According to your molecular orbital theory, they end up mixing and they form molecular orbital theory. They form molecular orbitals. Remember? So they will mix up, and the two molecular orbital will be generated from two atomic orbital. One will be of bonding type, that will be called as sigma 1s, and another is called as sigma star 1s, anti-bonding type, right? So दो जितने भी एटॉमिक ऑर्बिटल होते हैं उतने आपस में मिक्स होते हैं. एक सर्टेन मैथमेटिकल ऑपरेशन था जिसका हमने नाम लिया था लीनियर कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ एटॉमिक ऑर्बिटल, इफ यू रिमेंबर. Do you remember that, any of those things? Okay, by the way, they mix up and then they lead to molecular orbitals. That means now the individual atom has lost its identity, and when hydrogen is being formed, then the valence electron have mostly the molecular identity. That means these two electrons are contrary to what we discuss in let's say in valence bond picture, that they are hooked up between the two nucleus. Okay, they are like the outermost electrons are little bit loose, and they are shared by both the atoms. So hydrogen जो मॉलिक्यूल होता है, अब इसको हम एक पार्टिकल के रूप में रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, और जो वैलेंस इलेक्ट्रॉन है दे आर फ्री टू लेट्स से बी एवरीवेयर, in between or across anywhere like this. Okay, so the whole molecule shares these two electrons. In the similar manner, if you apply this idea to picturize molecular orbital theory, just apply molecular orbital theory, if you try to do that way, then you can think that even in metals, just because there are valence electron which seems to be quite freer, when the particle come together, the whole of the piece of metal behaves like one big giant molecule. Why? Because all the particle they share their valence electron, and these valence electron are free to move around everywhere, and that's the reason metals are very good conductors of electricity, because these electrons upon applying electrical potential they easily start moving around. So that's why molecular orbital theory is much more successful in order to explain the conductivity property which was not explained by valence bond theory. Remember? So you know this is how you have to imagine. So metallic bonding is like bonding in which you can think of. So suppose if you just imagine, suppose you have taken sodium metal, okay, and in the sodium metal you have sodium ions. So if one electron of sodium is little bit displaced from this, then you can think of the center, the entire sodium particle apart from that one electron has become like a sodium plus ion, and one electron is just around it. Think about this. This is like a whole sodium atom, neutral atom. This is a neutral atom, but you can think of if one electron is very loosely bound to this sodium, then you can say that the electron, if it finds a possibility of being displaced, then what will be left out will be a sodium ion. So metals are generally imagined in a way that the particles of metal are like positive centers which are embedded in the sea of electron or valence electron. Think about this. This is the picture that depicts metallic bonding. So metallic bonding is like a collective bonding, number one. Metallic bonding is more like a collective bonding between the particle, where you can think howsoever size of the metal that you imagine that big particle is like a molecule itself. I should not use the term molecule because molecule gives a different impression, but you can think that that whole thing is just like one particle together. Even in case of diamond, you imagine the same way, but in the diamond, you remember that the bonding electrons are still considered to be hooked up in between the two nucleus. Okay, it's not like those electrons are everywhere. In graphite sheet, of course, there are one p electron that is above and below. That is freer. You remember in graphite, if you remember in sp2 carbon, there are 3 sp2 orbitals. These are sp2 orbitals, right? And they will be forming the bond with some other particle. Let's say in this case you have carbon itself. Okay, there is further carbon, and that will also form further 3 bonds like this. And above and below each carbon there lies a p orbital, remember, because that is still left out unparticipated in hybridization, and it carries, this is a p orbital and it carries one electron. So here also you have a p orbital above and below like this. Every carbon will have one p orbital. This is pz orbital, you can say pz. So this electron is freer, and this electron which is freer, these p orbital actually, they simply form kind of interaction because they are above and below the nucleus. Okay, you remember something like that we have talked about. So there is a whole network or the pathway for the electron to create, which is created above and below this plane of one sheet. So these electrons are freer. That's why graphite is conductor of electricity. Okay, because of this electron which is freely available in the, and it is freely available and it moves around in the p orbital, from one p orbital to another p orbital. In the similar manner, in case of metal, the similar situation is similar. Okay, but it is little different simply because this electron is it's not restricted to one atom. Actually, it is freer to move across everywhere. Okay, and it is much more labile, in the sense which is, I'm trying to use the term much more labile, means it is very much freer than what is the situation here, because metals are electropositive. Carbon is not electropositive, that powerfully electropositive, right? So here, because of high electropositivity, these electrons are much more freer. So the implication is this, is if it is like a glue which is everywhere. Think about this electron and this ionic the cationic interaction, the metal cationic interaction and the electron and metal cationic interaction is like a glue which is now everywhere. It's not located only in between the two particles. Like sodium chloride, of course, you have the glue which is restricted in the 6 direction. Okay, and it is a specific glue. Here you have cation and anion. Here it is like a similar negative ion everywhere in the C, and then in that you have like these embedded cations. So this glue tries to hold all the particles together. So even if you hammer it, it will just slide around each other on the top of each other. The grains of this metal will slide around, but they will not be detached that easily. You can't break metal that easily. So that's why the property of malleability and ductility arises, and of course they are hard, no doubt about it. Okay, so it's all due to the nature of bonding, which is called metallic bonding, and it is very easily imagined as if you can imagine the positive ions of the metal in the sea of delocalized. Okay, the electrons are not localized, the delocalized electrons. And I also told that this is the reason why your metals are actually conductor, although they may be in the solid state, but they can conduct electricity because the electrons are delocalized. And of course in the molten state also they will conduct the electricity, unlike your ionic solid, which conducts electricity only in the molten state, right? So comparing now the melting temperature, now it depends upon, I said that it is not just the structure. Remember, the property of a substance is not just the structure but also which elements are involved in the formation of a particular solid. So considering all the aspect, because कुछ एलिमेंट जो होते हैं उनकी इलेक्ट्रोनेगेटिविटी ज़्यादा होती है, किसी की आयोनिक एंथैल्पी ज़्यादा होती है, किसी की कम होती है, वो सारे फैक्टर को भी अगर हम कंसीडर करें और साथ में स्ट्रक्चरल पैरामीटर को लेके आएँ, तो हमको पता चलेगा कि आयोनिक सॉलिड जो होते हैं उनका मेल्टिंग टेम्परेचर और जनरली ज़्यादातर मेटल्स का मेल्टिंग टेम्परेचर वो मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा, यानी कभी आपको कुछ एलिमेंट में देखने को मिलेगा कि metals have higher melting temperature than some of the ionic solid, and you will find that some of the ionic solids have higher melting temperature than some of the metals. For example, sodium metal is very it can be melted easily at lower temperature, right? Mercury exists already at the lower temperature, right? So but there are metals like hard metal, if you go for, then you have iron and other metal which have high melting temperature, for example 700 to 800 degrees Celsius temperature. In the similar manner, some of the ionic solid, they will have relatively lower melting temperature than some of the metal, but there are ionic solid which will have very high melting temperature also. For example, even sodium chloride has sufficiently higher melting temperature of, I don't know exactly, but more than 500 degrees Celsius temperature, correct? So it depends upon which ionic solid or which metal you are talking about given here. But now when we talk about the covalent solid, their melting temperatures are enormously high. See, let's say if I put that these melting temperatures are in the range of, let's say, within the value of, let's say, 1000 degrees Celsius. Think about this. Roughly I am saying that most of the metal and most of the ionic solids, let's say, have melting temperature, let's say, below 1000 degrees Celsius temperature, 1000. Then just imagine the covalent solid like graphite or let's say diamond. They have their melting temperature, or let's say the temperature at which all the covalent bond between the carbon will be broken, that temperature is about 36 to 3500 degrees Celsius. Imagine 3.5 almost times higher to 4 times higher. That's an enormously high temperature. So definitely covalent solids generally have very high melting temperature compared to ionic solids. But remember, I am talking about the covalent network solid. I am not talking about the any covalent substance. That will come here in the category of this molecular solid where you have covalent molecules, but their melting temperature will be low because the interactions are weaker. Okay, we will see that. So is this clear to all of you? At least I started with the more familiar one first, let's say ionic, then covalent, and then I also discussed the metallic solid. And there is a certain similarity in the bond formation. If I talk as if this will whole thing behave like one particular giant molecule, if you consider that the electrons are every atom's contributed electron is available to every other atom. It's like that. The valence electrons especially, they are available to every other atom. Okay. So these solids are put as molecular solids. Molecular solid, although not all of them will be molecule, but in your book this particular term is given. I will give you some example where you won't have molecule but they have been also put into this category. For example, the solid of argon or any you should say that this should include solids of noble gases, okay, whichever, let's say argon or let's say helium, okay, any of the solid noble gases should also be put into this category, although it is said as molecular solid. So don't think that molecular solid means a category of only talking about the molecules. Of course, large number of them are only covalent molecules, no doubt about it. You see that most of these molecules here, carbon tetrachloride, hydrogen, these are like your same elemental molecule, okay, elemental molecule. These are molecules which are made up of more than one type of elements, okay, like water. So all of them are, they seem to be covalent bonded, है ना. इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे ये सारे मॉलिक्यूल आपको कैसे दिख रहे हैं, कोवलेंट. बिकॉज अगर वो आयनिक बॉन्डिंग से बने होते तो उनका सॉलिड जो है आपको आयनिक सॉलिड देता, इस तरह का. लेकिन ये जो मॉलिक्यूल हैं वो कोवलेंट बॉन्ड से बने हुए हैं. तो अब ये इंडिविजुअल, बट देखो खासियत यहाँ पे, अब कोवलेंट बॉन्ड से बने हुए हैं लेकिन उनके बीच में और कोई चेन नहीं बनता. जैसे I2 या H2 बन गया, एक बार H2 बन गया, हाइड्रोजन हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड बन गया कोवलेंट बॉन्ड से. अब ऐसा नहीं कि वो हाइड्रोजन दूसरे हाइड्रोजन के साथ में कोवलेंट बॉन्ड बनाएगा, नहीं, वो नेटवर्क नहीं बनता. तो इसलिए हमने वो कोवलेंट जो सॉलिड्स थे उनको नेटवर्क सॉलिड कह करके अलग से इस कैटेगरी में डाला था. बिकॉज इनकी प्रॉपर्टी जो है थोड़ी सी अलग इसलिए है क्योंकि ये बहुत ही हार्ड होते हैं. यहाँ पे पूरा जाइंट नेटवर्क ऑफ सॉलिड बनता है, ठीक है, नेटवर्क ऑफ एलिमेंट. बट इसके अंदर केवल मॉलिक्यूल के बनने तक कोवलेंट बॉन्ड है, उसके बाद में कोवलेंट बॉन्ड नहीं है. तो अब अगर ये इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे ये पार्टिकल एक दूसरे के साथ में रहेंगे, देन दे विल बी ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ वीकर इंटरेक्शन, ओके. सो दैट्स व्हाई दीज covalent molecule that we are going to discuss now, the solid of these covalent molecule, they have been put into the different category called molecular solids, okay. Please be clear about this, because if you are clear then there will be no mistake at all, okay. Don't think that this class of solid is also made up of covalent molecules, okay. The molecules at individual level are covalent molecule because there is a covalent bonding, ठीक है. लाइक आपको अगर पता है कि बेंजीन अगर आपने लिया है, बेंजीन है ना, बेंजीन का स्ट्रक्चर पता है सबको, कार्बन 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 एंड कार्बन, एंड यू ऑल्सो नो दैट देयर आर alternate double bonds, and on each carbon you have one hydrogen, and it is more like a planar structure. You know, the arrangement of orbital, hybridized orbital, is such that the whole molecule is like one planar molecule. Now here you know that all these are covalent bond, right? All of them, double bond, triple bond, single bond, whatever you have here, they are all covalent bond. It's like one sheet. This one molecule represents one sheet. So individual level पे तो ये bond बहुत strong है, you can't simply break them. But this is one molecule. But when we talk about the solid structure, means many of these kind of molecules should come together. Cloud, there is an electron cloud above and there is an electron cloud below. In the plane, the dipole seems to be 0, right? Because they will cancel on the opposite side. But this molecule, as I said, carbon has above and below the sp2 the p orbital cloud. Remember, just like in graphite. So those electron cloud will tend to attract the hydrogen. That's why you can see that the plane of one molecule and the plane of another molecule are arranged perpendicular to each other, because the electron cloud on the top of this will tend to attract the more of electropositive hydrogen of molecule of other covalent molecule. So this is like a weaker interaction, okay. All these weaker interaction where you don't have either strong ionic bond or strong covalent bond, they are all called as van der Waals interaction here, okay. So if you happen to get this kind of arrangement and formation of the solid, definitely this solid is formed because of the weaker interaction. So this kind of solid, you can very easily break this interaction by a little bit heating also, okay, because these interactions you won't be breaking. Please see, when I say melting of this solid, means I am talking about breaking of these individual interaction only, and separating the unique one particle of benzene from the other unique particle of benzene, okay. So that's what we are defining as melting. So definitely those can be achieved at very low temperature itself, okay, within 100 degree itself. In fact, benzene at room temperature itself is liquid, right? So that is much lower, melting temperature of benzene. Okay, most of the solid which are formed by covalent bond, they will also have dipole-dipole interaction in the solid, and they can be very easily broken, which these interactions can be very easily broken, and so their melting temperatures are generally low, and that's why these solids are also generally soft in nature. So polarity due to the dipole of a molecule can happen in a covalent molecule. For example, HCl, there is a dipole. Okay, in case of SO2, there is a dipole, because SO2 is like a molecule which will have SO2 is not a linear molecule, remember. Okay, carbon dioxide is a linear molecule. Carbon dioxide is a linear molecule, it does not have a dipole. But then we have something else called dispersion force. Argon does not have a dipole. Carbon tetrachloride is symmetric, it does not have dipole. Okay, sometime in the molecule like benzene, you also have something called as dispersion force, partly. Okay, it's not that one molecule only have one type of weaker interaction, there could be multiple type of weaker interaction. What is dispersion force? Does anybody remember? What is the difference between dipole? Okay, forget dipole-dipole interaction. Let me first find out what is dispersion force, which is also one kind of weak interaction. How can you condense argon gas into liquid argon, or even liquid argon into solid argon? Why is that possible? What kind of interaction are possible? Anybody? Okay, remember at some point of time I told you, although you may be thinking that a neutral molecule should not have any dipole, right? Which is true. Suppose we consider argon itself, a ball of argon atom. So you have electron cloud outside, right? If you think of a spherical structure of argon atom with the electron density symmetrically distributed across, but I told you, remember, the electrons are not stationary. The wave of electron, or let's say the electron density, is not a stationary entity around the nucleus, it is highly dynamic. And those dynamics, like, you know, they are happening in the time scale of femtosecond, very very fast, you can't even just imagine. So in those time scale, if you are able to achieve those time scale, transiently, I'm saying transiently, there is a shift of electron density in one corner of the atom versus other corner, but then it is equalized immediately. Suddenly then the shift of density will happen in another corner. Those transient dipole, that means transiently there is a separation of charge, negative versus positive. So I am saying that London dispersion forces, or dispersion forces, they are also called London dispersion forces sometime. These forces are due to transient dipoles which are created within the atom or molecule. It could be even molecule, like a linear molecule like H2 should not have any dipole, right? But still we can create a solid H2 or solid I2, simply because the electron density in the entire molecule can transiently shift itself from one corner to another corner, or one location of the molecule to another location. So transiently those dipoles are created, and the transient dipole in another molecule, that will attract. So definitely this is supposed to be the weakest interaction actually, because the dipole which are responsible for these weaker interactions, they themselves are changing. So definitely they are changing and again acquiring the same interaction with another molecule. So, but definitely for whatever length of time, if you happen to get that dipole formation, the dipole-dipole interaction can happen at very low temperature, and that's the reason you can solidify argon, or even let's say the symmetric molecule like H2 and I2, or let's say CO2. Because CO2 is a linear molecule, but SO2 is not a linear molecule. You know, SO2 will have something like this kind of a V-shaped geometry, if you recall your 11th class, but CO2 will be linear because of the nature of the hybridization of the central the orbital on the central atom, carbon and sulfur here. So this because of transient dipole formation, or let's say London dispersion forces, there are possibilities of formation of solids of this nature which don't seem to have permanent dipole. These dipoles are called as permanent dipole. Permanent परमानेंट मतलब मॉलिक्यूल के नेचर को ही देख करके आप बता सकते हो, जैसे HCl है तो HCl में डेफिनेटली एक डायपोल है, सो दीज डायपोल्स आर मोर ऑफ परमानेंट नेचर, परमानेंट डायपोल. So permanent dipole-dipole interaction will be definitely much stronger than transient dipole-dipole interaction, है ना. तो इसलिए इनका जो मेल्टिंग टेम्परेचर होगा इस तरह के सॉलिड का वो तो बहुत ही कम होगा. इसीलिए आपको पता है कि आर्गन जो है रूम टेम्परेचर पे गैस फेज में होती है, उसको लिक्विड बनाने के लिए और लो टेम्परेचर पे जाना पड़ेगा और सॉलिड बनाने के लिए तो और भी लो टेम्परेचर पे जाना पड़ेगा. तो ये जो मेल्टिंग टेम्परेचर है वो बहुत कम होते हैं. उससे ज़्यादा मेल्टिंग टेम्परेचर होगा डायपोल डायपोल इंटरेक्शन का. और एक वीक इंटरेक्शन जो हमने डिस्कस किया था हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग, दिस इज मोर ऑफ अ डायपोल डायपोल इंटरेक्शन, बट हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग इज ओनली डेडिकेटेड. Okay, let me before I go further, let me show you some of the picture here which I have put here. Let's say I told about this is, let's say, the latest structure, or let's say the crystal structure which I have tried to put here from the image is of argon particles, and there are specific number of particle in each symmetric unit. There is a unit which is here. We are going to move to that slowly in the later part of the solid exploration, that we can define a unit of a solid, नॉट द मॉलिक्यूल बट एज अ सॉलिड का यूनिट. जो पूरा मॉलिक्यूल का जो क्रिस्टल होता है उसका एक छोटा सा रिप्रेजेंटेशन होता है, उसको हम बोलते हैं यूनिट सेल. ओके, यूनिट सेल. तो आर्गन का यूनिट सेल है यहाँ पे, जहाँ पे एक पर्टिकुलर टाइप में आर्गन पार्टिकल एक दूसरे के साथ में अरेंज हैं. ठीक है. उसी तरह से ये आयोडीन का अगर आप देखेंगे तो क्रिस्टल है जिसमें आयोडीन मॉलिक्यूल का पर्टिकुलर ओरिएंटेशन है. आपका यूनिट सेल मैंने बनाया ही नहीं यहाँ पे, लेकिन एक पर्टिकुलर ज्योमेट्री में ही ये आयोडीन के पार्टिकल एक दूसरे के साथ में, I2 के पार्टिकल एक दूसरे के साथ में इकट्ठे हैं. तो ये इस तरह की अरेंजमेंट. बेंजीन की मैंने बात की यहाँ पे, आप देख सकते हो सॉलिड बेंजीन में इसी तरह का रिपीटेशन होगा पूरे बेंजीन सॉलिड के अंदर. ठीक है. ओके. सो बट देन आई this is something also which we know from your 11th class. If you have hydrogen, हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग कहाँ पे पॉसिबल होती है? चलिए बताइए किस तरह के मॉलिक्यूल के अंदर हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग पॉसिबल होगी. चलिए मुझे आपसे पूछने दीजिए. ये भी वीक बॉन्डिंग ही है बट इट इज स्ट्रॉन्गर देन योर यूजुअल डायपोल डायपोल इंटरेक्शन. लेट मी फाइंड आउट फ्रॉम यू वेयर डू यू फाइंड हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग. नेगेटिव जो सबसे ज़्यादा इलेक्ट्रोनेगेटिव एलिमेंट है, अगर आपके किसी भी मॉलिक्यूल के अंदर अगर हम कहें जहाँ पे आपको हाइड्रोजन जो है नाइट्रोजन के साथ में बॉन्डेड हो, जैसे अमोनिया के अंदर होता है, या हाइड्रोजन जो है वो ऑक्सीजन के साथ में बॉन्डेड हो जैसे वाटर के अंदर होता है, या हाइड्रोजन जो है वो फ्लोरीन के साथ में बॉन्डेड हो जैसे HF के अंदर. तो यहाँ तो एक ही बॉन्ड पॉसिबल है, बट H2O के अंदर 2 बॉन्ड पॉसिबल हैं OH टाइप के, नाइट्रोजन के अंदर 3 बॉन्ड पॉसिबल हैं. तो जहाँ जहाँ पे भी नाइट्रोजन के साथ में हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड होगा और भी इसके बॉन्ड होंगे, उसी तरह से हाइड्रोजन ऑक्सीजन का और भी बॉन्ड होगा. बट आई एम सेइंग दैट जहाँ जहाँ पे ये स्ट्रक्चर बनता है बॉन्ड फॉर्मेशन का, वहाँ पे बिकॉज दीज एलिमेंट नाइट्रोजन, ऑक्सीजन एंड फ्लोरीन आर हाईली इलेक्ट्रोनेगेटिव, सो they tend to withdraw the pair of electron more towards them, and in that sense the hydrogen become more electropositive. That means in response to this acquired more stronger negative polarity here, this pole of the dipole on the whole of this bond become more positive. Of course this will be a dipole, right? Do you agree? बिकॉज इलेक्ट्रॉन जहाँ पे भी एक एटम की तरफ ज़्यादा विड्रॉन हो जाते हैं दूसरे एटम के रिलेटिवली, तो वहाँ पे डायपोल जनरेट होता है, और जो नेगेटिव साइड होती है उसको हम कह देते हैं कि वो उसका डायपोल की डायरेक्शन है. इस तरह से एरो से जब दिखाते हैं तो यहाँ पे ये माइनस डेल्टा है, तो ये हाइड्रोजन जो है प्लस डेल्टा है. ठीक है, ये डायपोल है. ये उसी तरह से दूसरे डायपोल भी होंगे, बट मैंने एक ही डायपोल दिखाया है यहाँ पे. तो nitrogen is highly negative pole of a particular dipole here, so hydrogen become more positive dipole, positive pole of the dipole. So उसी तरह से ऑक्सीजन और फ्लोरीन के साथ में जब हाइड्रोजन होता है तो वहाँ पे भी स्ट्रॉन्ग डायपोल जनरेट होती है. तो इनके भी डायपोल डायपोल इंटरेक्शन होंगे दूसरे मॉलिक्यूल के साथ में. एक मॉलिक्यूल का जब दूसरे मॉलिक्यूल के साथ में इंटरेक्शन होगा तो डायपोल डायपोल इंट्रैक्शन ही होगा। जैसे मान लो वाटर के अंदर एक वाटर मॉलिक्यूल जो है, अगर आपको ये क्लियरली दिख रहा हो तो ये जो येलो एटम है वो ऑक्सीजन का है, और ये जो वाइट एटम है थोड़े से छोटे से हैं, यहाँ पे दिख रहे होंगे, एज्यूम करता हूँ सभी को दिख रहे होंगे। तो ये एक वाटर का पार्टिकल है, अगर आप देखें यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा वाटर पार्टिकल है ये H2O। अब ये वाटर पार्टिकल दूसरे वाटर पार्टिकल के साथ में हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड से जुड़ा है, ये भी डायपोल डायपोल इंट्रैक्शन है ना। ये नेगेटिव हिस्सा है, ये दूसरी डायपोल का पॉजिटिव हिस्सा है, तो डायपोल डायपोल इंट्रैक्शन हुई। लेकिन ये डायपोल डायपोल इंट्रैक्शन थोड़े से ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्गर होंगे कंपेयर टू योर यूजुअल डायपोल डायपोल इंट्रैक्शन इन द मॉलिक्यूल लाइक HCl, है ना। बिकॉज यहाँ पे जिस एटम के साथ में हाइड्रोजन जुड़ा हुआ है कोवलेंटली वो ज़्यादा इलेक्ट्रोनेगेटिव है। तो ऐसी मॉलिक्यूल जहाँ पे हाइड्रोजन नाइट्रोजन ऑक्सीजन और फ्लोरीन के साथ में जुड़ा हो वहाँ पे हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग हो जाती है, वो डायपोल डायपोल इंट्रैक्शन है, बट उसको हम अलग नाम देते हैं हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग, बिकॉज दीज आर लिटिल बिट स्ट्रॉन्गर इंट्रैक्शन, स्ट्रॉन्गर वीक इंट्रैक्शन। ओके, स्ट्रॉन्गर वीक इंट्रैक्शन, वीक इंट्रैक्शन की कैटेगरी में सबसे ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग इंट्रैक्शन जो है वो है हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग की, ठीक है। सबसे वीक जो है वो डिस्पर्जन फोर्स है, उससे ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्गर डायपोल डायपोल इंट्रैक्शन, रेगुलर डायपोल डायपोल इंट्रैक्शन, एंड जो हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग है वो उससे भी ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्गर होती है। ऑफकोर्स दे आर मच वीकर देन योर आयोनिक सॉलिड, मेटलिक सॉलिड और लेट्स से कोवलेंट बॉन्ड इंट्रैक्शन। ओके, so depending upon the nature of these weaker interaction, the physical nature will also vary, like your non-polar molecular solids, non-polar मतलब जो इसमें polarity ही नहीं है, इनको नाम दे दिया, non-polar कह दिया किसी को, ये वाले जो है इनको polar कह दिया, और इसको जो हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डेड होते हैं इनको हाइड्रोजन बॉन्डेड कह दिया। तो इनकी सॉफ्टनेस भी रिलेटिवली उसी तरह से बदलेगी। ऑफकोर्स मेल्टिंग टेम्परेचर भी रिलेटिवली उसी तरह से बदलेगा। सारे के सारे मेल्टिंग टेम्परेचर बहुत कम हैं compared to any of the other solids that we have just talked about, but within their category also, like water, you know that at you can have ice, you can have ice at 0 degree Celsius temperature, but you cannot have solid HCl at 0 degree Celsius temperature, it will still be liquid। और जहाँ पे इसका सॉलिडिफिकेशन होगा वहाँ पे ये वाले सब्सटेंस अभी भी लिक्विड होंगे या गैस में होंगे, ठीक है। तो इस तरह से ये रिलेटिवली इनके मेल्टिंग पॉइंट टेम्परेचर हैं वो वेरी होते हैं। और इलेक्ट्रिकली अगर आप देखें तो किसी भी इन तीनों में से कैटेगरी में से आपने देखा होगा जब इसको लिक्विड भी बनाया आपने तब भी मॉलिक्यूल तो वैसा का वैसा ही रहा, डिसोसिएट तो नहीं हुआ ना आयोनिक इंट्रैक्शन, आयोनिक मॉलिक्यूल की तरह। इवन अगर आप प्योर HCl की बात करें, हम देखो जो HCl आप लैब में लेते हो उसमें तो वो इलेक्ट्रोलाइट की तरह काम करता है, बिकॉज वहाँ पे H और Cl माइनस जो है अलग अलग हो जाते हैं, ठीक है। लेकिन मैंने कहा है कि HCl अगर आप लें ऐसा का ऐसा ही प्योर, तो इट इज़ लाइक अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग कोवलेंट इंट्रैक्शन। ऑफ कोर्स देयर इज अ पार्शियल आयोनिक इंट्रैक्शन बट स्ट्रॉन्ग कोवलेंट इंट्रैक्शन। सो प्योर HCl which we generally don't deal with, all these bonding will be covalent. So your liquid HCl will not have separate H and Cl minus or any of these molecules, they will exist completely by themselves. So when the molecule does not separate cation and anion, no possibility of electrical conduction will happen. So only when you put some of the polar polar substance like HCl in water, then only they will seem to conduct electricity. तो ये जो है हम यहाँ पे प्योर सब्सटेंस की ही बात कर रहे हैं, किसी सॉल्यूशन की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, ठीक है। तो प्योर सब्सटेंस में आइदर यू टेक देम इन लिक्विड, सॉलिड, they will not conduct electricity, so they are like insulator.